Bom dia, Portugal!
Hola, bom dia, alegria. Munson here with a Good Morning Portugal show, the live stream and the podcast, and of course, the Portugal Club, where we'll go for Portuguese citizenship test question 35 this morning. And apologies for our unusual opening this morning. I have been trying to use the popular graphic software Canva online, but it appears to be offline this morning. So maybe we'll have our usual in Portugal. There's a YouTube show intro as an outro this morning. I hope you're well. How's it doing? Well, how are you going where you are? 20th of October 2025. A little bit damp and soggy and cold and cool here. It's not what we came here for in San Martino in central Portugal on the west coast, as somebody described it to me yesterday, which made it sound so exciting. Yeah, Canva is not happy this morning. Oh, we're having trouble streaming to X as well. Are there general internet problems this morning? How exciting. What a curveball already. We appear to be streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. So good morning to you, if that is the platform you're on. Good morning to you. How you doing there, PT Country Bear? Bon dia alegria to you. And Mike, who opened the batting for us this morning. Bon dia Gumpers. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I think you may have done in the Barton household. Lots of love. Belated birthday wishes to Karen, of course, who I saw was celebrating her birthday in this last 48 hours or so. Was it Saturday, Mike? I hope you all had a great time. I trust you did. You guys know how to live life and party. I've noticed that. And Chris joining us maybe from a packed tube train in London town with his nose pressed firmly into someone else's armpit on a packed commuter train. Sorry, Chris, if that is your lot, and I hope it's fragranced well this morning, your your morning commute in the old smoke. So let me just check a couple of settings to make everything's okay. Well, yeah, I think that's all right there. And yeah, wishing you a very good morning. I think a slow start into this week where the clocks go back. The clocks go back in the early hours of next Sunday morning. And you'll see that set up on our Portugal Club calendar if you need that prompt. I think an email is going out to everybody on Saturday. I have some lovely photographs to show you. Hopefully you're in a position to do that. Chris, you can be distracted from the London commute with, I don't know if there's a place outside of Southeast Asia with as many Buddha statues as the Buddha Eden Garden near Bombaral here on the west coast, or Silver Coast of Portugal. But we'll have a little look over there. And of course, we'll do question 35 of the Portuguese citizenship test. How are you doing this morning? Do let me know in the chat. Oh, I thought, of course, it's 36 this morning. We did 35, which was the historical dynasty of Portugal, which was in position in the age of discoveries. Oh, no, sorry, I beg your pardon. It is 35. It is 35. And a slightly more esoteric, difficult one this morning. Let me just copy and paste all of that into the appropriate place. And it was brought to my attention last night. I've made... it just seemed to be a little bit of a more obvious crime in Portugal at the moment. And ever grateful to Antonio F. His criminal facts file, if you like, has 473 entries on it. And because the Portugal Club is free to view, you can keep in touch with that without joining if you want. But why not go ahead and join and have access to all the other levels of what we do at the Portugal Club? But thanks again, Antonio F. He's still sending me loads of great Portuguese music and he's keeping us up to date. His wish, not mine, because there is crime in Portugal. It's not a paradise. He's been keeping us abreast of that since January 2024. Antonio F's crime file. Let's go then. Let's spark something new up in the Portugal Club this morning. I'll share the screen with you, and this is our Portuguese citizenship test question. Have you been thinking about that? We eyes on the changes to possible duration of how long it's going to take to become a Portuguese citizen. And I think this will be part of it, a new test. I know some of the parties are pushing for this. Yes, the burqa was banned, wasn't it, at the end of last week as well? All kinds of interesting political things going on the matter of, do I describe the burqa as an Islamic... I don't really think I should call it a fashion, right? But the burqa was banned to be worn in public. What do you think of that? And I'll certainly have a chance to discuss that with my guest on Wednesday evening as I host a conversation beyond the algorithm with Dr. Aleem, understanding the other, and that is our conversation about Islam, understanding Islam a little better and going beyond our own personal algorithms, the propaganda, the emotionalized reporting, the vested interests, and so on. Let's see what we can come up with on Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock. If you want to join us for that, do so. It'll be on these channels. That's if Twitter is working by then. Seems to be a problem with that this morning. So an interesting technological morning. No access to Canva and a little bit sticky over there on the X as well. So Portuguese. Let me just type in the last part of this. What is the name of the traditional Portuguese embroidered lace? I need to just finish this off. I need to complete this Portuguese and has all of this talk about the citizenship qualifying period lengthening, has that changed your mind about your approach? Are you perhaps going to just go for permanent residency? Because that, of course, was brought to our attention that might change your taxation status as well. Be careful with that. Seek advice on that. It might be that if you become a citizen, that changes the amount of tax on your investments in the United States, for example. Portuguese citizenship test question number 35. What is the name of the traditional Portuguese embroidered lace? Is it renda de biroche? Is it bordado madeira? Or is it the ponto alto? That might have a few people reaching for Google this morning. I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know the answer to that. I will put the link to that into the chat so that you can take a look for yourself. Be keen to read a few more of your comments this morning, but it does feel like a slightly slow morning as we ease our way into this week in autumn, and perhaps that beautiful autumnal atmosphere with that extended summer that we've been experiencing and enjoying is perhaps giving way to rain now. It started raining here as soon as I mowed the lawn yesterday. It seemed to start peeing down, basically. Although we were able to have a nice time in the Buddha Eden Garden. I'm going to show you a few snaps from there in just a moment as well. Yes, Karen celebrated the big 50 on Saturday. Excellent. What did you do? Did you have a nice time? Bon dia todos, Turu. How was the commute, Chris? The sights and smells of the daily drudge. Rubbing it in a bit there, as Pete is. You couldn't probably get further away from the idea of the daily commute than to be in the middle of nowhere in central Portugal. Belated happy birthday. One bag and a passport to Karen, that is. Life gets better as you get older. Just ask Carl. Yes, it should do, shouldn't it? If you're not, if it's not getting better, then you might be doing something wrong. There are pluses and minuses to everything, are there not? And there are definitely some upsides to age, which I think, to be fair, are not very well documented or celebrated in our youth-obsessed culture. It tends to be seen as a pretty dismal thing, which of course it is in part. There are parts to it that aren't especially attractive, but there is compensation, is there not? Isn't there the increase of wisdom? Maybe. I remember that because of your renda de biroche budgie smugglers, Carl. Really? You've got a better memory than me, and I was wearing them, Pete. Is that like Portuguese crochet then? I do remember having a pair of crochet. Did I actually show everybody those pictures? I can't believe I would have done that. Me, the exhibitionist. Bom dia, criaturas. E feliz segunda-feira to Matty as well. And Adrian, perhaps some of the reception problems are linked to the storms. Yeah, maybe I just need to turn the aerial on top of the house to get so that I can start streaming to X a little more effectively. We have what I'm going to do is try that again over on X, because there are a few lurkers and watchers over there on X, formerly Twitter. We'll see if that's going to happen. And who knows, some of them might begin to comment. Nope, an error occurred. Who else can we stream? Should we try LinkedIn then this morning? Okay, you need to upgrade to do that. Okay, bear with. I'm going to try LinkedIn and see what happens when we stream to LinkedIn this morning. Okay, so that's happening now. What's this, Adrian? Always used to cause problems with Greece's intercity landline system in the early 90s. Even my screen has decided to flicker a lot. Ooh, what's going on this morning? Morning, Matty. Did you have a good weekend? A question from Pete there. Right. I'm going to stop sharing the Portugal Club, and that's a citizenship test question, and go now to a little bit of a slideshow. Oh, I must, did I mention Vitor Costa will be joining us at around 8:20, 8:30. Going to send him the link now as well to make, he's just sent me a boo to remind me to do that. I need to send him a laughing emoji, if you'll just excuse me. Not a long WhatsApp voice audio, as discussed on Friday. And there's a new Fill My Cup from Phil Cooklin. It's called Drawn a Blank this morning. Go to Fill My Cup if you want some daily inspiration first thing in the morning. Who likes a bit of fill first thing in the morning? Who likes to have their cup filled first thing in the morning? PHIL, mycup.com to get that in his own rich and beautiful voice, uplifting voice from Phil. Fill My Cup. Right. That's that done. Actually, I should send him a message to join me when he feels like it. So join from 8:20. I'm going to go with a Safage Favor on that, if you'll permit me. Lots of great Portuguese vocab and words that I've discovered over the weekend. I'll bring those to you during the week. Before I do that, and as we ease our way into this week that we find ourselves in now, sharing the screen of my Google Photos, and this is what you're greeted with on arrival. As I say, probably the biggest collection of Buddhas outside of Southeast Asia, anywhere else in the world, beyond where you would expect to find statues of the Buddha. If counting statues of the Buddha either sends you to sleep or guarantees a state of nirvana, this is the place to go. Near Bomboral, this is well, the last time I went there, they didn't have a photographer trying to take a picture so it could be flogged to you on your exit from the park. I eschewed that. I took a picture of them instead. Look, un sorriso is a bit of Portuguese vocab for you. Un sorriso não custa nada. It costs nothing to smile, but it will cost you, I don't know how much they were charging, it will cost you to have your photo printed and taken away as you leave. Bacaloa Alianças, amazing, quite a truly amazing attraction near Bomboral, the Buddha Eden Garden. And let me give you a sense of it here. I'm going the wrong way. That was a bit, oh yeah, okay. So if you want to know a little bit more about it and your camera is ready, I'll come back to this, but there's a QR code for Bacaloa's Enoturismo, which is this particular site. I've talked to you before about Aliança's Underground Museum. They are an allied, they're all part of the same wine family dynasty here in Portugal. The Aliança Museum, Underground Museum, definitely worth going to, up in Sangalhos, between Coimbra and Aveiro. And this near Bomboral, as you enter, you will see, I don't know if that gives you a sense of scale, but that's just one of the many Buddhas. It's quite a difficult place to convey to you, because it is so vast, so diverse, and so rich visually. I hope this will give you some sense. I mean, please go. I hope this will give you some sense of how magnificent it is. Even in quite a dull day, you can see we're not our usual Portuguese blue sky there with our 300 plus days of sunshine. Oh, yes. Conversations ongoing with Matty about that. Matty's got the evidence. He's got the dossier, the data over there in his part of central Portugal. But look at all these Buddha statues. It's just a small smattering. This is the one where the Buddha is playing rock, paper, scissors. You can find the Buddha in all sorts of states of undress and posture here. Quite extraordinary. That's near the cafe. There's a land train as well that runs around it, which is pretty amazing. That's the amphitheatre. Great place to have gigs, which I suspect they do from time to time. But you can see it's probably used to be vineyards and farming. And now the most incredible collection of Indiana Jones style things gathered from around the world and art commissioned here in Portugal by a huge range of artists, international artists who are showing their work here. Look, there's the amphitheatre again. That is a foot, don't worry. There are lots of, my daughter often says to me, don't look, Daddy, you've got a wife. It was very difficult not to admire the female form, it has to be said. Oh, and a few naked torsos of fellas as well, if that's your preference. But yeah, lots of naked statues and beautiful artifacts, water features, all sorts of wonderful things. Oh, we're going in now. bamboo maze as well. This is pretty extraordinary. Look at that. Just a little detour from an otherwise a vast open space with all sorts of creatures, dinosaurs. There's a part of it which is like being on safari, African animals. Really, truly amazing place. An abstract there from a piece of art. It's a nice little optical illusion there, isn't it? And meerkats, metal meerkats. This thing you could walk into, and that's me looking up out of the sky of this little pod of a thing. And that's an extraordinary. I did post up. Oh, have you seen that? My Barcelos cockerel shocker. And then I made that meme up. I don't know if I shared this with you on Friday. Perhaps I didn't. Who is this? Who does this cockerel look like here? Cock, might some say. Then I was reminded of it as I posted, as I saw this as I was walking around the Buddha Eden garden. But did you see this over the weekend that I'm bringing to your screen now? There you go. Barcelos cockerel shocker. And yeah, if I take that back off the screen, yeah, you can see a kind of resemblance going on there. A proud blue cockerel with a Buddha sort of saying, yeah, chill, chill out, dude, in the background there. Just one of many truly incredible things going on at the Buddha Eden Garden. A little bit more for you. Yes, chanced upon this Portuguese toolkit here, an all-important trowel, a stonemason perhaps here, a bucket, and a couple of bottles of water and a bottle of Sagresh. That was unless that was an art installation, and making a similar point. I'm not sure. Buddhas and more Buddhas and some nice azulejo hand painted. Oh, and they've got or some of the. No, it must be their own version of the terracotta army. Look, the imperial majesty looking out over and admiring all he surveys there from one angle in red, surrounded by blue warriors, and then from another angle overlooking the lake there, which incidentally is full of koi carp. Take Polish friends there, and they'll be thinking about Christmas dinner and fishing one of those bad boys out there. We saw a David Bowie carp that had different coloured eyes as well in the water. My kids noticed as well. Slightly angry looking Buddhistic representation there. Incredible. And as I say, this is just a tiny selection of the Buddhas that you'll see in the Buddha Garden, and you can take the train as well. Final shot there, many pagodas too, and you're able to walk across the lake. €7 to get in, €7 for the land train. There is a restaurant where you can taste bacalhau as well. Actually, part of the tour is a wine tasting at the end, which I eschewed on this occasion. But you can do that. There's a cafe where you can also have a little snack and taste some of the wine, and there's also a full-on restaurant as well. So well done, Bacalhau. I think there's a somewhat controversial past associated with this and how it was made, but quite the extraordinary place, and certainly something to put on your bucket list, or not your bucket list, but lovely things to do here in Portugal. Buddha Eden Garden on the Silver Coast, near Bombarral on the Silver Coast of Portugal. Yes, enjoy should you go, and send us some pictures on 913-590-303 so that we can enjoy it all over again with you. What's happening in the chat now, Pete? I have seen an Estrella jump 2 meters. Is she? Oh, okay. Has Matty got challenges with the dogs again? Yes and no. I got a piece of fence given. Thought it would be enough to keep Nala inside. Oh, she's a minx, isn't she? But no, she was out this morning again. Pete has seen Estrella's jump 2 meters. Is she getting out over or under? When Maximum had the maybe his full name. When Max had the ostriches, they climbed a 2 meter fence. Dogs, livestock, eh? I think Vitor's having some trouble joining us this morning as well. Interesting, yes. Little techie challenges all over the place this morning. Better than the real thing. The terracotta army is very poorly made compared to Egyptian and Khmer art. Thank you, Pete, who will, of course, have seen those and touched them possibly. Audio is stuttering again. Oh, what is going on this morning? Oh, and I wanted to find you something on Twitter. This was beautiful. I wanted to download the video of this, but apparently a couple of Portuguese fellas were in Brazil and they pulled up somewhere in Brazil thinking they were at a restaurant. And so they drove in, these two guys, they drove into a place that looked like a restaurant. They sat down and asked for some food. And they were given some food, but actually it wasn't a restaurant. It was just some very hospitable Brazilian people who asked for some food, served up some food, and broke it gently to the two Portuguese guys, to much hilarity, because it was filmed. It was a wonderful thing to see. And they were saying to them, "Mate, this isn't actually a restaurant. You've come into our private farm here." But they were already halfway through the food that had been served to them. It was an absolutely beautiful moment there of human beings being nice to each other, which is a nice thing to see at the moment. Morning, chaps. I'm Vitor. Let's bring him onto the screen and have a chat with him this morning. It's been a while. The family has expanded in the last little while since we spoke to him. There have been Portuguese elections. The real estate market continues to expand. Let's find out if that's the case where he is. Nice big round of applause for our very own.
Did you just call us fat? Did you just call us fat, saying we expanded?
Well, the ever expanding family. I didn't mean it quite like that. How are you all, Vitor? How's the little fella?
Yeah. Good morning. Good to be back. He decided to come out exactly on the day that we were supposed to have our previous episode. So here we are again.
Good man, fantastic. And he's happy. You say he's got a contented little soul.
Yeah. He's pretty calm, pretty chill. Our first one had a lot of tummy aches, so yeah, if they're all like this, we just need to sell more real estate, and we'll see if we can pop out 5 more.
Very good. That's the plan, is it?
Yeah, for now, yeah.
No,
so now it's my time to perform.
Yes, it is. Apparently, if you'd bought gold and silver, you'd have had quite the performance over the last 3 to 5 years. There's something in the air, it would seem. I think in society, when gold prices and silver prices and precious metals are at an all-time high, that may be an indicator. It might be a barometer or the seaweed of change in the world. And that's the sort of contextual setup I made for you this morning. We've had elections, or your family's grown. We've had elections. The Portuguese family has had its penultimate set of local elections, and the real estate situation seems to be hotting up. Burkas were banned in the last 72 hours or so. The political temperature seems to continue to rise. What do you make of all of this, Vitor? How are things from your point of view? And from a personal point of view, how's it going with the real estate with you up in the north there?
Yeah, those are great questions. So there's a lot going on, and I'm not a specialist or anything. I just look at things, and as you know, I've always been a curious person. So I like meeting people, talking to people, understand things from their viewpoint. Even if I disagree with them, if I get the opportunity to talk to someone, then I would, right, regardless of what happened, to see like how they react. You also probably know that I've had many clients from many spectrums, from left to right, center, up and down. And one thing that I can say that I definitely felt, and I think most people in the chat can agree, maybe for different reasons, is that it seems like nowadays people aren't really sharing kind of a language anymore, right? What do I mean by that? People who place themselves, for the most part, in one side of a certain issue, they're automatically labeled either left or right or this or that or whatever, and they immediately start getting labeled by everyone else, which is funny because I personally have been getting private messages on Facebook and everything, threatening me, calling me a massive liberal, as well as a massive, I don't know, Trump supporter or whatever. So I'm both, right? Both sides can have a point of polarization now.
Well,
where it's like it's not really about issues anymore. It's not about talking about what's going on. I think society is still at the point of basically tribalism, right? So if you think about it, most issues nowadays, if something new pops up, it very quickly gets plastered on either a right side thing or a left side thing.
Yep.
And then people start arguing about you versus them.
Yes.
immediately instead of on the merits of what's going on. So why do I answer this way to your question about what's going on and the burkas and whatever in the economy? It's because I feel like for at least 10 plus years now, people have been fighting each other and ignoring issues or downplaying issues so better way to say it, if there is an issue, right? So obviously there are better and worse ways of immigrating. There are people who integrate, there are people who contribute, there are people who maybe shouldn't be in other countries. But if you make that a political issue, then it's not about whether or not those people should be there. It's about, oh, you're anti-immigration.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is that everybody turns a blind eye. There are elephants in the room everywhere, but they never get addressed because they're a political tool to beat the other person, right? So what I feel like could happen is that I feel like things may end up getting a bit worse within the 5 to 10 years, personally. But we're already starting to see the boiling point. Up until now, especially on immigration issues and all of these things, it was like political taboo to mention anything of the sort, right? Either you allowed all kinds of immigration everywhere for whatever reason, or you were automatically some kind of, Nazi, fascist, Trump supporter, hateful person. They call you Chega if they notice you are from Portugal without any context or relevancy whatsoever. And as a result, there could have never been an actual conversation on the pros and cons of, for example, immigration. And since everybody would get immediately attacked for that on the media, online, or whatever, there could never be a conversation that would be productive. As a result, anybody who would have these immigration concerns, they couldn't really speak, or if they spoke, they would get shut down. So it kept increasing inside of the people, and parties rising up all across Europe. Trump got elected again in the US. I see him as a symptom and not the cause of any of this. Chega also got massive increases in the election, not on these ones, because these were more local, I think. So when it's like local elections, people tend to vote more for the person. That's why you had some areas that were like 80-something% votes right wing, others were like 80% of the votes left wing. But if you look at that party as a whole, the many of them didn't really work out. And so I think that's what's been going on. So I think it's going to blow up. Things are going to get more extreme because people aren't being able to talk about the middle. We know what happened to Charlie, right? I know many people think he was an extremist or whatever, but believe me, he was very, very moderate, and he just wanted to talk. He wanted people to live how they lived, but he was passionate about what he felt, and he was sharing his opinions. And so while all of that is happening, the balloon keeps going up, and sooner or later it is going to pop. Ever since Nixon got the gold off the dollar off the gold standard.
That's going back a bit.
The what?
Right, yeah. That's going back a bit.
Yeah, no, but ever since Nixon got the gold off the gold standard in 1971, it stopped being money. It became a currency. Yeah. And historically, every single currency in the world has eventually ended up going back down to zero.
Yes. Yes.
So the dollar has lost over 90% of its buying power ever since. The euro is going somewhere along the same routes. The thing about gold and silver isn't that they become more expensive, is that as our currency is worth less and less and less, then gold and silver, which are scarce, and you can't really make more of it, by comparison, they feel like they're worth more. Same thing is happening with real estate, although I do believe that there is a lot of speculation. It seems like homes are like 20-30% maybe more expensive than they should be, but that's just kind of a gut feeling. And unfortunately, more Portuguese people are feeling that there is a lot more immigration coming over, and so they think that they can just ask for a much higher price on their properties and that it will sell, right? So I've had cases of people who for years tried to sell their homes for 250,000 or something like that, and they're now trying to sell it for almost 500,000, which of course isn't moving, right? For things like that. So
Well,
that's a very rough way of summarizing.
you've painted a very interesting,
how I feel about
yes,
this.
a very interesting picture there. Thank you for that. And if we take a look at the news headlines, it seems to reflect what you're saying. And I think it's interesting the dynamics you speak of. You know how things are co-opted for people, for the way people are feeling, basically at the moment, and perhaps absence of anything positive and constructive. We're in a phase of reaction, I suppose, at the moment. There were what are these? No King's Day found its way here to Portugal. It would appear yesterday, and this hot button issue. MPs approve ban on wearing of burqa in public spaces, which seems like quite a random sort of political totemic thing to me. And I read a very interesting comment about it on social media. Where is it? I found it here. Another smokescreen. It was described. I didn't get their permission, so I won't say who it is, although it is in the public domain, so I can read it out. Another smokescreen. In typical fashion, a non-issue is being addressed, and I think this goes to the heart of the matter, as I see it, as I understand it. Politics' original objective is to find solution to improve lives and the well-being of the public. They lead by addressing real issues like economy, housing, and health. That's a novel idea, isn't it? So the original political idea perhaps might have been to help people, but now the politicians, I think, and those who perhaps fund and support them and encourage them, they seem to compete in spending time and resources just to fool the masses, to keep the focus away from their utter incompetence. Their favourite tactic seems to be immigration and Islamophobia, divide and rule. So here in Portugal, you might have a strong view on the burqa and how that relates to women's rights, but in terms of scale, it's not really that big an issue, is it, for it to dominate the front pages and to become a major political issue? It does. I would agree with that personally. It's just put there to inflame, upset, and irritate people and cause further division. And that project that's being spoken of there of division, it occurred to me that that's almost complete in America, isn't it? And I was with a group of Americans over the weekend. People who are glad to be here in Portugal, but they acknowledge, this the middle that you're talking about is kind of unrepresented. It's in the reporting and in the politics, the political processes. It all seems to be pushed to the extremes. So calm conversations can't be had. People are avoiding each other. People are marginalized, polarized, and often in a sort of low state of anxiety and anger about things. And then I could put up, which
you
I just
have
did,
a good
a front
example
page
on your chat right now.
Oh, really? What's happening now?
Yes. So you have a commentary at 829.
Yeah.
Which says there are immigrants in Portugal that contribute more to Portugal and the local communities than Portuguese people. Do we need to exile those Portuguese? So see how I just said a very kind of neutral comment about the situation.
Yes.
And immediately it got interpreted as some kind of attack on immigration, right? As if I was implying that immigrants should all be kicked out, immigration shouldn't be happening or whatever, or that only Portuguese people should be living here, right? That's what I mean about the polarization and being unable to talk about.
To be fair to Matty, who this is, I think he's making a more general comment than a response to you on this, knowing him as I do. But your point stands. These are the conclusions people come to, aren't they? That these sort of explosive.
Exactly. But to answer directly, again, the problem isn't immigration. The problem isn't locals not being good people or whatever. It's that we can't judge people on a case-by-case basis. Like, if you're an immigrant on any country and you go in there or you come in here and you don't adapt to the culture, you don't adapt to the laws, you don't adapt to the rules, you become a nuisance, you don't contribute, you leech from their system, you maybe even commit crimes. Why is there a conversation that that person should be in jail or deported?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
On the same manner, if a local person does any of those things, then okay, they are a citizen, so we kind of have to put up with them. But if they do commit a crime or something like that, then you get them in jail.
Yeah.
You can't deport them if they are a national,
Yeah.
right? It's like it's so. Why don't we start treating things and issues based on the merits and the substance, and not where it falls politically?
Yes.
Again, it's if we had simply decided to take a stance on crime, for example, like, hey, if you commit a crime and you're a citizen, you get arrested. If you committed a crime and you're not a citizen, you get deported. Of course, it depends on the crime. If people just had these simple stances, like you're not contributing, so you go away, things will be a better place. But what happens is, while people fight each other and then try to come up with reasons or whatever to excuse bad behavior, like when I heard a lot is socioeconomic conditions or behavior. Oh, that's Bianca. Or behaviors or whatever. Then okay, if I'm poor, right? If I became very poor and everything went downhill, I wouldn't start killing people or stealing stuff or anything like that. I would offer help. I'll say, hey guys, I'm hungry. I need some food. Can I clean some dishes or whatever? You guys give me a meal, right? Something along those lines. I wouldn't have to go immediately commit crime. But a good example of, you said, that almost complete polarization. Did you see what was happening in Indonesia a few months ago?
No,
That the
tell me.
whole place was on fire.
Oh, no, actually, I may be confusing it with some other flashpoint of political unrest. No, say what's the point of with that you're
So
making? About
basically, I believe what happened was that their minimum wage and also roughly the price of rent was around equivalent to 300 euros,
Oh,
right?
okay, yeah,
And then the politicians decided to vote themselves just the housing allowance alone, besides all of their salaries and everything, per month would be 3,100.
yes,
Right? So per month, they would get enough money to get almost a year of housing.
yes,
And so, plus the other benefits, they would be getting paid over 6,000 when everyone else was getting 300. And so, as a result, the people revolted, started burning government buildings and protesting against the government.
yes,
Now, what happens in a country like the US or Portugal or the UK? Because you have more than one party, you don't have the government, you have parties. If someone in the government does some nonsense like this, if they're a Republican, the Democrats are going to say, oh, look what the Republicans are doing. And then the Republicans and Democrats start fighting. If a Democrat does something, then a Republican is going to point and like, oh, look what the Democrats are doing. They're doing these things to enrich themselves or whatever. Never mind that I'm getting paid as well, right?
yeah.
And so
Genius.
instead of revolting against the government, they put people against each other, they fight each other, they argue online, and all of these things. And while they're doing that, the government does what they want.
Well,
By
there
the
is
way, I'm
that.
not
But
trying to
yeah,
revolt against the government. I'm just
yeah.
saying that it's not that I agree with it, but if I was a corrupt politician, this would be a genius way of doing what I wanted without
Nicely put.
people understanding what was going on.
Nicely put. I think that's what's going on with the burqa thing, personally. But anyway,
Oh, the burqa thing. Yes, I forgot to address that. In my perspective, it's it might be a small mix here. So for one, especially in politics, perception is reality, right? And so I don't think the burqa thing in itself is going to do a whole lot. I've never even seen a woman here in burqa, maybe in Lisbon or whatever. You
yeah,
have more of that, but it's more kind of, I think, the message, right? Showing that it's more so that people feel like, okay, finally the government is hearing about our concerns or whatever, because a lot of people are worrying about this. And if you ban a burqa, everybody can immediately see, okay, the government is paying attention to mass immigration in some way. And this icon I can very clearly identify with a certain group.
Yes.
So I believe that may be one of the main reasons. I don't think it's going to do much, but it gives something clear for the public to see. And looking at Facebook and everything, I think it's working in that regard.
Yeah, I personally think it's a big distraction. And if anybody does want to have a conversation about that, now I'm aware as well. My Beyond the Algorithm conversation on Wednesday is with Dr. Aleem, who works he is part of the Ahmadiyya, and I'll find out how to pronounce that correctly when I speak to him, Muslim Association of Portugal, who I suppose would be described as a very moderate Islamic Muslim organization. And we will have an open-minded discussion beyond the algorithm, seeing the other and understanding Islam. And I'd realize in saying this, it's a bit like having a webinar about understanding Christianity. It's a big subject, but I think
Can I join?
Of course, anyone can join. That's the whole point. Is to challenge our own preconceptions, or for many people, it will be justifying them as well. But I think I had a conversation with Miguel Silva of Chega a couple of weeks ago in that same sort of spirit, asking the question: should foreigners fear Chega? And that's part of how I sympathise with how you set things up. In the last week, I've been accused of not calling out fascism, bigotry, and racism, and by inference, perhaps I am those things as well. But okay, fair enough. And there's only so much of that I can and am willing to take. And I think it's important to have these conversations that address whether that is true or not, rather than just lazily call people these names. It's actually quite bigoted, I think, isn't it, to call someone a bigot without having a conversation with them?
So.
Yes.
Bill Maher said it perfectly, I think, on his last show or something, because he now started talking about how some countries, right?
Yes.
Because here's the thing: if enough Portuguese people go, for example, to the US or the UK in a large enough numbers, the culture is going to change. Things are going to change, and people are going to feel uncomfortable, right?
Yes.
Same thing happens the other way around. On any country, that's just normal math solution.
Human evolution.
Too much happens all at once.
Yeah, culture changes. Things do change, don't they? By virtue of volume.
Right.
That happens,
exactly.
Yeah.
But there are many cases where it has been linked with increases in less positive things in society. And I think what Bill Maher said is that, people are saying that this is racist or, I don't know, phobic or whatever. But is it true?
Yeah, I think
that's what people need to ask. Okay, call them all those names if you want, but is it true or is it not true? If it's not true, then okay. But if it is, let's talk about the issue and fix it.
Yes.
And
I think perhaps we could also say, or I will say, if people want their culture to be a certain way, it's up to them to promote and propose, promote, and support that. I think the Portuguese are actually quite good at that, and there's a delicious sort of irony, isn't there, in how people who, on the one hand, see patriotism as a little bit icky in their own culture, actually really like it when the Portuguese are doing it. This is fascinating, but there's a balance to be had with that, isn't there? If we've come here because we like Portugueseness, if you like, and Portuguese culture, we might also ask, well, why is it like that? How is that preserved? Or is Portugal in the same? Will be in the same sort of tides of time as every other culture, which does, cultures do change, and it's up to people to, I don't know, defend. It gets into sort of warlike vocabulary, doesn't it? But if a general culture of a company is seen to be appropriate, and the majority of people in that country want to keep it that way, it's their job to do that, really, rather than I think, sort of complain about it necessarily, and do it by example. And if again, is it true? Is it true that this kind of culture works for people? Well, if it does, then let's promote, support, and encourage it. And if there are parts
Well,
of it that don't,
yes, but I think the problem is like for at least 10 years now, we haven't, for the most part, been able to live and let live. I say this because a lot of interest groups, hobbies, for example. I play video games, there's Dungeons and Dragons, things of this sort. And I did see that in the past, like 10 plus years, there are many people that try to just be in their own corner, have their own thing, whatever. Like one reason why nearly everybody today is political is because politics went to them, right? So, for example, there were a lot of people who just wanted to stay home, play their PlayStation, Xbox, or whatever, play their video games. But then the problem is that there are many associations, many companies, many cultures, some government backed, some backed by NGOs or whatever, that then pressure all of these companies. And there were all kinds of events. We don't need to cover all of them, but there were all kinds of events during the last few years where now you couldn't make games a certain way, and now you had to include certain aspects of culture and whatever in every way. And for example, a lot of modern games nowadays, they instead of just making a fun game and a lore accurate history, now they always have to rewrite everything to kind of push a certain narrative or push a certain kind of diversity or whatever, or more politically correct policies. And people at those companies who show some discomfort, they immediately get fired or sanctioned or whatever, and then get replaced with people who have those values. And so it starts alienating everyone. I think I did a video like 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, or maybe more. There was a guy, I think his name was James Damore, and he basically just sent an email to Google because he noticed that they were actively hiring, for example, women engineers and whatever. And he just sent an email asking, like, hey guys, according to research and whatever, like, why do we want to put everybody on the same jobs if usually, women lean more towards these kinds of activities and men lean more toward these kinds of activities? Why don't we focus these people on the things they really like and enjoy and they are good at? And he got fired over it because you couldn't even dare question. It's like everybody is a gray blob, which is exactly the same, right? So there couldn't be nuance, and that was just the beginning. And then it just got worse and worse from there. And now we're at this point where I'm sure a lot of people watching this have already labeled us both all kinds of things, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's inevitable. But to your point on that to me is just part of the churn of human ideas and ideology. Because the people who would support the opposite view to whoever the chap is would say, well, they faced the opposite of that in previous times. There are always dominant narratives,
Exactly.
aren't there? And
Exactly.
we could describe human evolution and the unfolding of humanity and its big grand experiment that we're involved in as battle of the narratives. And I think the problem is at the moment is that it's fine when the narrative works for you, but it's not when it doesn't.
Exactly.
And that seems to be more obvious now, doesn't it? Is it the voice is louder and that gets magnified, and we have a media system that tends to focus on that sort of stuff. So I think it's always happened, it's always gone on, and it will continue to. And it's often unfortunate if you don't like or a victim of the dominant narrative. But that's always been the case for human beings, I think.
Yeah,
And
of course. And again, here's the thing about. All right. So for those who may not get this, I can understand how things work. I can understand tactics and all of these things, not agree with them. Okay.
yes,
Important disclaimer.
yes,
But
yes.
the thing is, like, there are certain tactics of power, right? And there are certain ways for you to get your way. You can manipulate, you can use propaganda, you can use misinformation. And and again, the funny thing is that, and anyone watching this, regardless of where they stand, they're thinking this about the other side. Yep, they're being manipulated, they're being gaslit, they're being brainwashed, right? I'm not. I know that. I know the truth.
Yeah.
So that is why I personally, I always have the stance of, I'm just gathering information. I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
I know you exist because I've seen you in person.
Yes.
All right. But until that, there was always a chance you may be something weird or an AI generated.
There's still a chance.
Thing, right?
Yeah. But yes, that helped a little bit, didn't it?
But people nowadays are so like immediately fast and quick at making assumptions, and the media thrives on this. Okay, quick thing, because I think it's important, and if one person listens to what I say, it starts paying attention, it's already worth it, which is, everybody talks about the media, and a lot of people say that the media lies all the time. Here's my stance, is that the media rarely lies. What they do is they frame things, they create headlines, they show certain pictures, sometimes unrelated, in a way where you read it and you make an erroneous assumption of what actually happened. So it's not that they're telling you, what's an example I can remember? Maybe when it was the Pope's funeral, right? I remember I saw a headline with a picture of like 6 people, and Donald Trump was in there, and the headline was, Trump wore a blue suit to the Pope's funeral.
Disgusting. Yes.
Technically true, right? And you only see him wearing the blue suit. And I saw everyone online complaining that, oh, he's such a narcissist, he had to be different, and this and that. Oh, and after complaining about Zelensky. But if you see a bigger picture, like 30% of people are also wearing a blue suit, including Joe Biden, including Prince Andrew, and a few other high-profile people.
A few other.
The media didn't tell you that only Trump wore a suit. They just tell you, hey, Trump wore a suit. We just so happen to have a picture of only him wearing a suit, so that you think only he wore a suit.
If I may decode it, then, if you've got an agenda, you can always find some news reporting to support it.
No, I mean, give me almost any headline, and I personally am able to spin it in a way that favors either one side or the other.
Yes. And it's useful for us to recognize when we're doing that or that's happening to us, presumably.
Exactly. So, again, you need to figure out what happened, right? And people say, oh, Fox News this or CNN that. They both do it.
They do,
They just do it against different people.
Yes.
Okay.
Point taken. Well, we've got a lot of lovely comments. Yes, we did start with the rise in gold and silver prices, which I think is barometric, if that's the right adjective. Also, several normal metal supplies are out of stock. Demand must suddenly be high. Something is happening. There are sort of Bitcoin. Is there been a big Bitcoin drop as well? Vitor, I haven't been keeping a close eye on that, but
I think there was. I'll check while you read it.
Okay. Trump is slowly realizing that the Chinese own the US debt, and if it is called in the dollar collapses. I mean, I don't suppose he would have been unaware of that possibility.
No, he knew about it years ago.
Yes, doesn't everyone? I was told the other day that some Portuguese communities short of population subsidize people to live there to increase their population. Maybe it could be combined with helping elderly schemes.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. We dealt with that comment, or you did. The extreme left and right vote collapses. Yeah. Did you find that heartening in any way? That it did seem to be a bit more central and middle ground, the results of the recent local elections. Quite a few local.
Again, the local elections are mostly about the people. So when it comes to more broad elections where you don't actually know the person in the flesh, and people tend to vote more party lines.
Yes.
But in the locals, they're like here in Ponte Lima, the same party has won for like 57 years.
Okay, so they quite like it how it is. Fair enough.
Yes.
Bom dia, Gumpers. If Feliz Segunda finally arrived home after a wonderful holiday in San Martino de Porto Madeira. Well done, coach. It was great to see you. Ate too much, drank too much, and did a lot of exercise. Well done. Dropped a kilo, so the balance was good. That's amazing. You're gonna have to write a book about that. The guide to coming to Portugal and losing a kilo whilst having a great time. That's incredible. Goes against the laws of nature. Portuguese president has said he will consider the constitutionality and any procedure to ban the burqa. Coverings and disguise of all sorts have been used for many attacks, mainly by local people. Did I understand correct that the Portuguese government is forbidding Muslim women to wear a burqa? So I can still wear one if I wanted to. I don't know about that technicality. If you want to wear a burqa, Matty, if you can, I might do that then, being a male atheist.
Well, the problem there is you'd have to explain what being a woman is.
You'll get yourself into all sorts of hot water there, Matty, I think. And I think you're just being mischievous, Matty, this morning. There's a big difference between patriotism and nationalism. One loves the country and the other hates every other country. Accountancy professor Richard Murphy's tax justice campaign reform is brokering solutions to tax inequality. I mean, taxation is just unfair in the first place, I think, isn't it? Try not paying it. Via firms, equal payouts where earned default, burqas, the poor, etc., are scapegoats, says Adrian there. When there are security concerns, example, banks, hospital coverings, reasonable not to have the face covered. But if we are banning burqas, will they soon tell me I can't wear a hoodie and scarf in winter? They might. Mel, Matty, it does make doing your makeup and choosing your lingerie it's a lot easier when you can just slap on a burqa instead. Think of how much time you'll save. Oh, thank you for keeping it light, everybody. I'm going to propose that having a comb over should be compulsory. It doesn't fool anyone, does it? It's transparent and authentic and vulnerable in terms of hairstyle, I think. It is very much the hairstyle of our times. A perennial and especially poignant at the moment. The burqa ban will affect your winter wardrobe in similar ways to me and Matty, Antonio F. There is a 99% chance that Carl is something weird. I think that's a bit unfair. I think we reduce the odds, is what we were talking about there, having met in the flesh. Vitor, do you think we could do a similar ban on leather look leggings? It could save a huge. Okay, I don't think I need to read all of that. I guess not. Only times I cover my face is if I'm sick and use a mask or am withdrawing money from the bank. Giving the game away there, Antonio. Yes, exactly. One does always like a cozy balaclava when they're joking, everybody. When withdrawing money from a bank or a stocking could look similarly stylish. One careful owner before that. We're coming up to the end of our conversation this morning, but having said all of this and taking into account the comments, do you feel positive? You just become a father again. And you're building a business empire. You did talk about the challenges of the next 5 or 10 years, and I think you were suggesting it might get a little bit more spicy and heated. Do you generally remain positive though? And could you put that in a Portuguese perspective? Because I think we're in a good place. We're in a good seat for what's about to, or what is unfolding. Not about to.
Absolutely. So I am very positive. On the one hand, I will never expect the government to fix my life in any way, shape, or form, regardless of who's in power. Okay.
Well done. Yes.
I think that's a part many people forget. I don't trust politicians for the most part. At best, they're incompetent. At worst, they're malicious against us. All right.
Yeah.
That being said, I mean, it feels like probably things will keep changing, my opinion. So initially, the internet, everybody started the internet, everything became chaos because everybody had all information all the time. And there were many efforts to censor and control everything. But I think we're getting to a point right now where people are being able to more intelligently be able to access information. There's still a lot of propaganda. There's still a lot of misinformation on all sides. But we're getting more to a point now where things start falling more into place. Things start more, even if there's a lie that comes out, people now can immediately show what the truth is a bit better than before.
Yeah.
And so I think when we can get to a point of more transparency and more reality and more accurate information and less just bubble screaming propaganda, where people just stay in there, then I think things will start slowly getting better and better. People starting to come together a bit more. Besides the bad internet theory, that's another conversation. Things like, for example, X, formerly Twitter, has a feature now where if somebody makes a post, the community can propose community notes, right? So if anybody tries to do some sort of manipulation or lie or make a post to just fan the flames, then people can anonymously contribute and vote and post links and information and proof, where after below the post, they say, the community added a note they felt might be relevant. Hey, so this person is saying this. What actually happened was this and this and that. Here's the link to the video or the report. And so, but that being said, people are starting to, getting fed up of all the labels and lies. And so I think people will start being a bit more authentic. I do believe things will get a bit worse during the next 5 years. But when the dust settles, I think we can start again moving a bit more unified towards a better future.
Thank you. It all sounds very forth-turning to me, which I suspect you're up to speed on. And these are the cycles of society, aren't they? And we may be, how I would sort of reframe or characterize what you're saying is a bit of a darkness before a dawn. And it's up to us to shape the dawn as well, isn't it? Rather than just be victims, as you say, of governmental or those so-called leaders taking in a certain direction. I think now's the time for people to step forward and decide how they would like their lives to be in collaboration with others. And I hope we operate in that spirit here on the Good Morning Portugal show. We're still having problems with Canva, so we can't give you the full Hollywood ending there. Who doesn't like a full Hollywood ending first thing in the morning? But perhaps you could comment on this other important issue which has come to my attention, Vitor. And even after quite a few years in Portugal, I'd never heard of the Portuguese farts, a particular kind of recipe. And you've been here all your life. They do things differently here. A nice pun to begin with. And I did see a video on this, but I've just done a little bit of research. It looks like we have a little meatball here flavored with cloves. The past is a foreign pantry. I'll put the link to this because they have featured the farts of Portugal of 1594. Settle down, it begins. I'll start by addressing the elephant in the room and dive right in to explain the name of this dish and answer the question everyone's asking. Portugal simply means made in the Portuguese style. Oh, okay. In 1480, the merchant Martin Rodkins imported 4,000 farts from Portugal. You'd hope there would be quite a big tariff on that, wouldn't you? Talking of tariffs. Or maybe
for the environment.
An extreme tax to stop it, in actual fact. At the surprisingly modest cost of 6 shillings and 8 pence, approximately 230 quid in today's money, suggesting that the supply of farts outstripped demand or farts weren't valuable enough in their own right to tax heavily. Nevertheless, farts were clearly considered something of a treat and were served along with other subtleties, not very subtle, at the enthronement of the Archbishop Warham in 1504. All clear, excellent. Well, you can read this for yourselves, but this would appear to be part of the great relationship between the English and the Portuguese. It is a meatball, isn't it? And it has the unfortunate name of the fart of Portugal, or the Portuguese fart. Do your own research. It's a strong message from today's show, and that perhaps should be part of it.
Sounds fantastic.
Very good. I haven't got my badum-dum tish for you there, but you get the idea, Vitor. Thank you very much. I don't suppose you expected the conversation to end on that note, as it were.
I'm fine either way. Again, you know that I'm here to help people. I want the best for everyone.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean that's why I'm doing this.
Yes.
I do want to see society to get better, to fight less, because what I guess frustrates me a little bit is whenever I see people arguing, I usually know what each side actually feels, and it's a bit sad to see how they misinterpret and assume so much erroneously about the other side that I don't even understand. And it's like the people who they go to for advice, usually high-profile individuals, They just lie all the time. And so they get validated in those lies because this person told you that those people are evil. And
Yeah.
instead of you having a conversation with those people and actually asking them how they feel, you just think you know their intentions and their motives and what they actually think. And so you just start attacking them. And
Yes.
it's a bit sad to see. And I don't know if this is like an issue of just the scale of things and this just naturally occurs, or if someone or several people are funding this or organizing this or doing a concerted effort. That's what
Hmm.
I think is more likely personally.
Yeah.
But regardless, I hope people start, waking up, not being more aware of what kind of manipulation tactics exist in the world, and start acknowledging that it can happen to me too. So I need to keep an eye out because I
And do you
mean,
know what? I was with some. Thank you, Vitor. I was with some left-leaning American activists the weekend before last, and they're very upset about what's going on in their country. And they also made the point that what's happening in American activism at the moment is an awareness of how it's anger and fighting against something, and the importance to also envision a future as well, to create a new vision to live into rather than just be fighting against something.
mhm.
That's not to
Yeah.
say we might not stand up against something we see as unjust, but they were making the point, and I agree entirely that it's also important to have hope and vision, and that's another part of these somewhat
No,
dark times.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. I don't believe any cause whose main purpose is being against something
yeah, yeah,
is doing something good.
yes, yeah.
Like you have to be for something greater than what you are against.
Otherwise, where are you going to end up? You're just going to be
No,
victimized.
exactly.
It's
Exactly.
victimized and dark and negative, aren't you? And that's
To,
for each of
to
us to
give a
be.
more maybe specific political, maybe more polarized example, like last year or something, it felt like that on the U.S. elections, the Republican side, Trump, they were fighting for border control, lower taxes, and all kinds of these things, right? That's what they were pushing for. And it felt like that the Democrats, their main platform was being against Trump.
Mm, mm,
And I don't know if that's why they lost or not. But personally, if I was a consultant, I would think that would probably be a mistake. Like, hey, guys, instead of just you being against him, find something to rally behind and push that
yeah,
while being against him, right?
yeah,
Of course, because it's kind of like a team sport.
yes.
But I never quite understood what they were fighting for and
And we need that,
towards.
don't we? We all need that, whether we're Democrats or Republicans or whatever we are. We need a vision for the future to live into. And what fun that is to consider that and
Yeah,
to remember
exactly.
what we're
Exactly.
here for and what we might live for. So, because I can't do the Vitor Costa outro, I've gone to. You're in good company because this is our president, our current president, who will be transforming. Oh, wow. You do magic as well. He will be transforming into another president in the new year. But this is how we'll remember him in relation to the current American president as well. I think this should be part of the job description, how hard you're able to shake the hand of the American president. So we'll go out with that today, and I'll give you a nice big round of applause and thank everybody for being here. Cheers, Vitor. Take care, and bye for now.
Mr. President, any comment on Justice Kennedy? Any comment on Justice Kennedy, sir?